Alright, there we go. So we're back with Game 2 of this series between Ride My Rocket and Dawn. This is the grand finals of Cycle 6, so always fun to be seeing that. The two teams that will be ascending to Diamond for the next cycle, which is Cycle 7. And this is essentially a match for money, because, you know, winning gold versus getting second in gold makes a difference. And this is also a match for seeding, because whoever wins this does not have to play Sync, which means it's also a match for future money, because staying in Diamond, winning more money in Diamond, much easier if you don't have to face Sync in the first round. Obviously facing Willowkeeper, not exactly an easy task, so you're not going, oh god, if we can just avoid facing Sync, we'll be fine. But I think pretty much everybody's on the scene right now is going to agree that if you can avoid one team, it's going to be Sync Esports. And to that end, Dawn have definitely got the edge here, as they're up 2-0. They won Game 1, and they had a 1-0 advantage coming out of the winner's bracket, which means we're going to need to see 3 straight victories from Ride My Rocket if they want to pull out a victory in this series. And based on what happened in that Game 1, my guess is that won't happen, because Dawn just looked like they were completely in control of that match, and they were on another planet from RmR. But hey, new game. New time to make some good stuff happen here. So first couple of bans from Imba Pingu are Cthulhuphant and Kraken, Parasite and Magmus being taken out by Labyrinth. Of course, this is pre-patch 3.6, which means Cthulhuphant still pretty broken, and that means that all of those heroes make sense to be banned. Kraken and Magmus, obviously the typical strength initiators, we see them a ton, and Parasite, the annoying as hell jungler. Ophelia will be the first pick from RmR, which is something we've seen from a number of different teams. Most notably, I want to say Night Raid? I don't think it was them. No, it was somebody that kept first picking Ophelia. Might have been Twisted Fusion. I don't remember. Regardless, they will follow that up with Torturer and Bubbles, so we're looking at some pretty good push right here from RmR. At this point, though, mostly that and gank. We don't have a ton of team fight, and we don't have a lot of late game potential right now, so I'd like to see some, you know, good insurance options for in case their early push doesn't work out, because I don't really like to have any all-in strategies, though. Hey, you're down 0-2. You might as well pull out whatever you can, because in all likelihood, even if you win this game, even if you win the second game, even if you win, I mean, it's going to take a lot to win 3 straight games in the series against a very good team like Dawn. So, you know, do whatever you want, because at this point, I mean, no strategy is really too far-fetched. Well, some are, but not most of them. Dawn going to pick up Swiftblade, Rhapsody, and Tempest right off the bat, so not making things easy on their RmR opponents, because obviously Swiftblade, one of the most powerful heroes in the game, regardless of what patch you're playing. Rhapsody and Tempest, both very strong heroes as well. And talking about that somewhat lack of team fight as well as lack of late game, the Hellborn certainly have it in abundance with the Swiftblade, Rhapsody, Tempest combination, and have some push of their own as well, so I'm really liking this Dawn draft so far. They don't have too much gank presence, certainly not in the same way the Legion side do, including with that Prisoner pick. But so far, things definitely looking good for them to group up and fight, because they can take towers or they can take team fights relatively easily, and wouldn't be surprised to see that as their plan if or as this game progresses. Clank, Dr. Repulsor, and Soulstealer are going to be banouts from Imba Pingu, so learn their lesson last game. We have to address Probus. We can't let him get whatever he wants. He likes playing Valkyrie a lot. He got to play Valkyrie last game. He crushed his opponent's Valkyrie. So this time around, they say no Clanks, no Doctor, no Soulstealer, all very popular Probus heroes, and he's going to have some more difficulty farming, because those are very easy to farm heroes. So not to say he won't find farm, because he's Probus, and he will. He currently holds the single game GPM record in Diamond Division with 777 GPM on a Soulstealer, so I think it's safe to say the guy knows how to get some GPM, but it's going to be harder without those heroes in the pool. Hellborn going to ban out Puppet Master, Silhouette, and Pharaoh, so actually a number of more heroes that Probus plays. Definitely plays the Sil very, very well. I believe he plays PM. I don't know if I've seen him play PM a whole lot, but I would imagine that he's well versed in how to play Puppet Master, considering he has a pretty diverse hero pool, and he's been in the scene for a pretty long time, so it's not like he is unaware of how good Puppet Master is. But the Pharaoh ban there as well to try to avoid counters on the Tempest hole, so they can get out significant stuff. But Flint can be the last pick for the Legion side on top of the Prisoner, so between the Bubbles, the Prisoner, and the Ophelia, they should be relatively easily able to cancel a Tempest ultimate. And now even having the Hollow Point shells from Flint Beastwood to go through that Shrunken Head and potentially cancel a Tempest hole, I don't imagine that Iceland Gogo is going to have a ton of luck and fun getting off really big god holes here in these fights. Even if you catch all 5 heroes on the Legion side, There's potentially the Ophelia minions, and that means could be some pretty easy runaways from the Legion side if they, even if they get caught in a bad position, they can still get themselves out of it to some extent. But Flint will definitely solve the damage problems that they were potentially going to have earlier on. Bubbles and Ophelia, not really high damage heroes. Prisoner can dish out a fair bit, but he does have some issues with getting kited, especially if he doesn't have access to Shackle. Flint, definitely a very damage-oriented hero, and RmR one of the very few teams that play Flint. So we'll see how it works out right here for Imba Pingu, but it's definitely done very well in the past, and it's a go-to for a guy who has a slightly strange hero pool, to be honest. He doesn't play... He plays a lot of heroes, and some of the heroes he plays are a little bit weird in terms of what you would normally think of in the carry role for the competitive scene. Hellborn will finish off their draft with the Gauntlet and Chipper pick. So Gauntlet going to give them some of that missing gank potential, and Chipper will do the same, in fact. So they figure, hey, let's get that Chipper. I actually like the Chipper pick a lot, because he's going to combo extremely well with the Tempest Ultimate, as well as provide a nice partner for Gauntlet when it comes to magical burst damage. It looks like the Kongor level 1 might be the objective here for the guys on Dawn. Yeah, you see them throwing out the all chat here to try to distract the fact that they're going to be running a level 1 Kongor. Word of Sight will spot Torture rotating, but he's not going to go check the Kong. Actually, they might be checking Kong right here. As we'll see if they see this is going on. Word of Sight's going to spot them in the pit right there, and that means they're going to have to abandon their attempt. That's pretty funny. So level 1 Kongor will not be successful for the Hellborn team, and we'll see how that affects them going forward. You'll notice the stuff like Gauntlet didn't buy a hatchet, which means he could potentially have some issues getting some CS, and that's some stuff that can play into the end of this game later on. Speaking of heroes and lanes and stuff like that, by the way, Gauntlet is being played by Labyrinth, so it'll be a mid, no huge surprise there. It's gonna be the Suicide Pharaoh here, Suicide Switchblade, played by Time to Die, who has a lot of experience playing Suicide Swiftblade and does it very, very well. Of course, last game he was a long lane Swiftblade, but in a dual lane as opposed to a true Suicide role. So going to be a little bit harder for him this time out, as the Hellborn team are running a juggler, and that means Rhapsody is going to be mid or top, and I think making the right decision here as they stick him mid to help out Gauntlet a little bit. Going to be easier to land hooks, going to be easier to finish off heroes with the additional damage and lockdown from the Rhapsody, and it's going to mean Prisoner is going to have a larger difficulty getting CS in this lane. He's going to be more easily shut down. And Legion side don't really rely 100% on Prisoner for initiation, but not having his early portal key is definitely going to hurt him quite a bit. Meanwhile, Gauntlet should get off to a really nice start and potentially could snowball. He's one of the most snowball heroes in the entire game, so get him a bunch of GPM early and he can start to take stuff over, especially because the Legion team are really not very tanky. And up against a Flint Beastwood, Gauntlet should crush, so... assuming he gets good early farm, that is. So in a number of ways, I'm actually really liking this Hellborn draft. I think the Legion side did perhaps salvage it a little bit with the selections of Prisoner and Flint. Prisoner, a hero that is very, very good, and we've seen a lot of, but obviously one that we should be seeing a lot of. And Flint, perhaps a little bit underrated. Obviously, teams tend to have some issues keeping him alive as they kill off Time to Die right here. Gets the spin away, but the impalement from Torture is like, that's physical damage there, buddy. So you spin all you want, it's not going to matter. It's not going to mitigate anything. And the support and Hellborn's and the Legion's bottom lane getting that first kill. Not bad at all. Forgotten One, that's going to be early boots for him, and that's going to really, really assist him when it comes to chasing down this Switchblade, because of course that 305 base move speed can be a bit of a problem if you're a support trying to zone that hero. Top lane, meanwhile, it's going to be Probusk on Chipper going up against the Bubbles, and this is a situation that should be more or less an even lane. The only reason I don't think it will be is because Probusk is just straight up a superior player to Cookies. One might even say far superior, and he does actually have some experience on Chipper. You look at the heroes he often plays, they're heavy farmers, they're really hard late game carries. Chipper doesn't really fit that mold, but he does still play an excellent Chipper, and we saw it earlier in this cycle as he played a Chipper that had like 17 kills in one game or something. Meanwhile, middle lane, Prisoner getting jumped on, but we see an Invis Ophelia rotating over. I'm not sure how much she can actually do to save this, but Torture is going to be there. Still level 1, which means only has access to the impalement, and it looks like the Hellborn heroes will back off as Prisoner won't be falling. So the support from the Legion team is sufficient to get the Hellborn to back off. Not bad at all. And that's what they want to do. They want to keep Q-Zane at least somewhat in this game, especially when it comes to levels. He needs to be able to contribute something to these team fights and these ganks, even if he's not going to be a particularly farmed hero. So it seems that they've rotated the Torture to this bottom lane, figuring that Flint can handle himself in, or sorry, they rotated Torture mid, figuring Flint can handle himself bot. And considering Time to Die has more or less abandoned this lane, my guess is that yes, Flint can definitely handle himself bottom, which is too bad, because one of Flint's biggest problems is early on, he just does not do very much damage. And the hollow point shells are unpredictable. You see him missing a couple of CS right there. Middle lane, actually, Rhapsody getting chased down a little bit here by two heroes. Currently out of mana is Prisoner. It might not matter. Ophelia gonna get the auto attack, but the health pot from Rhapsody is still very helpful. Second health pot, in fact, as the Vagabond leader chasing her down. Gonna miss the nuke right there. Gauntlet hook will not connect either, so in the end, nobody dies. It does cost them 200 gold worth of regen on the Hellborn team, but all of a sudden, here comes Tempest with the Glacial Blast. Katos are there as well as the dance floor, and Prisoner is gonna be falling. So the gank from Iceland Gogo is successful, and they pick up the kill onto Prisoner 945, which is, of course, very helpful, and will further their objective of continuously shutting him down. Top lane, no huge surprise. Probusk is more or less dumpstering cookies on this Bubbles. Has about double Cookies GPM, despite the fact that I think under normal circumstances, this would not necessarily be a lost lane for Bubbles, as a good Bubbles player can easily take cover or dodge rockets, and it's going to be really, really difficult for Chipper to kill Bubbles considering his mobility. Meanwhile, Chipper can certainly die to Bubbles considering Bubbles' burst magic damage, especially if he doesn't go for Focus Buffer, which Proboss has not, and Chipper's relative squishiness. So, like I said before, under normal circumstances, I think this is a lane that could go either way, but given the talent of the players involved, it's not a huge surprise to me that Probusk is winning this lane and doing it quite hard. So we'll see if Cookies can have more of an impact in this game. Obviously, his Bubbles last game was really not particularly helpful. And this game, at the very least, he's getting some levels, so that'll be helpful. And Bubbles, obviously, a hero that needs those more than anything else. So we're about 5 minutes in right now, but Dawn taking a slight golden experience advantage. Nothing substantial by any means, but always nice to be up. And perhaps the only thing that I really have to worry about is Pingu in this bottom lane, who is for some reason at 290 gold per minute. He has been literally uncontested now for something like 3 minutes, and he is having issues breaking 300 GPM. You compare that to something like Probusk in the top lane, who's simultaneously boxing out that Suicide Bubbles as well as getting more CS than in the Pingu. Anyway, middle lane, they will get the Gauntlet hook onto Prisoner. Staccato Stuns are doing a lot of damage as well. Will they get this kill? Yes, they will. The tower helps finish it off, and a credit goes to Yugovic right there. So Rhapsody getting some kill gold. And she will have boots here in about 20 gold, so that should be coming along quite quickly, and it'll be very nice for her, of course. Throwing a hook here, Labyrinth? No. More the regen wore off? Apparently doesn't want to. It's fine. Top lane Bubbles trying to deal with this pull a little bit, as Swifty's looking for some farm here, so Time to Die. You look at the GPM issues the Legion Center are having in really all 3 lanes, as they're... I mean, I don't want to say Mbapingu is losing this bottom lane, but the fact that he has 320 gold per minute right now and not like 380, he's kind of losing this lane. Literally uncontested. There has been nobody here to take CS away from him or experience, and he is still missing a number of creep kills. So I don't know what's up with that, but it might be something before. Like I said, Flint does have very low base damage, and the inconsistency of headshot makes it somewhat difficult for him to CS, but then he's taking points in his range passive, which, why? I mean, there's nobody here. You can get all the way up to level 11 plus if you want to. Max out headshot, max out your flare. You don't really need your range passive. Middle lane, it's going to be a jump on Prisoner once again. Will they have the damage to take him out? I think they will, yeah. The Enfeeble doing a lot of work right there, as Gauntlet only has it level 1, but it's still sufficient to slow down Q's lane to the point where they can chase him down and kill him. And it's a 3-1 hero kill advantage here for Dawn, so they're looking very good in Game 2, just as good as they were in Game 1, maybe even better, despite the fact that Game 1 started with them getting 2 kills before the creeps even spawned. And I think if you're RmR, you're thinking, this is not great. This is a little bit worrying right now. Sure, we have a pretty fantastically farming Pingu in that bottom lane on the Flint Beastwood, but middle lane, actually, Chain Reactions hit 2. Hope will only connect on Rhapsody, so she'll be the only one falling right here, and Gauntlet should be just fine as he retreats to the safety of his tower. Yugovic, the second kill for the guys on RmR. Top lane, meanwhile, looks like it's going to be pushed in here by Tempest, as the Tempest hole completely whiffs on Bubbles. Figured he'd continue channeling it. Middle lane, Qzane dying once again, as Gauntlet has it. The Gauntlet Blast is there with the Infernalist ability, and that'll finish off that kill on Qzane. So the Big Fat Fist crunches Prisoner. We'll see if this tower can be denied. No, it can't. So, but unfortunate right there for the Legion team. But another boost of gold going the way of Dawn. And you can look at the GPM charts right now. The top farm of the game is that Chipper, and that's obviously a bit of a problem for the Legion team, as Chipper, like Gauntlet, a very, very snowball-oriented hero, and both of those heroes off to a fantastic start. Now, the thing they might be concerned about here is the fact that their late-game carry in Time to Die is having only 131 GPM, but presumably the amount of space that Chipper and Gauntlet will be able to create will allow Time to Die to recover very well. At this point, he literally just needs to farm. I mean, he can AFK in the jungle for the next 20 minutes if he needs to, but he shouldn't be strictly necessary in these pushes or these ganks, unless he wants to be, which I think for the most part he won't. Nor should he be, especially in the ganks. Pushes, maybe. If you want to group up as 5 and have him there, that's okay, but I don't think he really needs to be ganking too much, considering the quality of the gank on the other 4 heroes that we've seen. So, expect to see some increases in GPM from Time to Die here, and the Hellborn's top push is going to be followed up by a middle push, so figuring the original was so good, let's do a sequel. And Gauntlet getting really aggressive here, will get hit by Chain Reaction. It's actually an illusion, so they will spot out the fact that Torture and Prisoner are hanging around here. Illusion's also taking some nice tower damage right there as the creep wave gets cleaned up a little bit by the Elementals and the Hellborn creep wave. Gauntlet Hook is going to connect somehow on Prisoner. He pops his ultimate, but he's going to die before it can go off for the second time. The Legion side still going to mount a pretty significant response. Kelfield on a 2. The Forgotten One's still dead. Rhapsody ultimate will save Tempest for the meantime, as it's 2 down in favor of the Hellborn team. A headshot, or money shot, excuse me, does finally finish off the Tempest, so it's a 2-for-1 at this point. Bubble is going to get locked down and should be killed. Dance floor is sufficient. Nice disjoint on the last auto attack from Rhapsody. All of a sudden, Penguin in trouble. Gets hooked back in by Gauntlet, but he's going to get ported back by the Ophelia. Drops a flare, in fact, right before he leaves. Rhapsody getting a little bit aggressive right here. Torture coming back in, and Rhapsody's like, YOLO, I got this. So Yugovic might not have been the greatest plan right there. They do have uphill vision on this Word of Sight, so, or on this Hellborn Word of Sight even, as well as the Legion Word of Sight, so I'm not sure what he thought he saw, but he definitely should have been well aware that there was death awaiting him as if he went up there. So my guess is that that was some miscommunication on the Dawn side, as Yugovic figuring, let's go guys, let's go get some more kills, not realizing Labyrinth without a mana, and Chipper I don't think had too much, if anything, left in the tank, and he was low enough that he probably didn't want to keep fighting. So in the end, it's not a bad fight at all, actually, from RmR, and I would say that they definitely won it, considering that their golden experience's disadvantage has slowed down a little bit for that engagement. Meanwhile, Word of Rev right here will catch out Gauntlet. They know he's here. They're going to catch him with the stun. Shackle is actually not going to go through. He gets the hook back on Torture over the ledge. Hook from Prisoner's not going to hit him, and all of a sudden there's Torture blown up. Gauntlet going to be able to skirt on out of there, no problem. So well played from Labyrinth. Finds the angle to not only survive, but get a counter kill onto the Forgotten One. And sad times for him, obviously. Dying consecutive fights right there after not falling once previously. Hellborn will reform their attempted middle push. Tempest ultimate is back up, and that's going to make a pretty significant difference. They've also brought Swiftblade along for the ride here. Gauntlet not present, but it's going to be mostly a slow push of this middle tower, as the Tempest Elemental is going to do some damage here, but they're going to get killed before too much can happen with them. Chipper Rocket can be take cover right there by Bubbles, but it does spot out where he is and what he's doing. Kelpfield is available. There's Newerth's Blessing still on cooldown. Anyway, Gauntlet Hook not going to connect. So Ultimate's up for everybody except for Gauntlet and the Ophelia. I would say in general that favors the Hellborn team. They have both better offensive and defensive ultimates in many ways. It's going to depend on the skill shots, though, as well as the Kelpfield, as the Prisoner ulti can depend significantly on how many people you catch with them in terms of how effective they are. Same thing definitely goes for Tempest, of course, but anyway, middle lane, they will get the counter hook onto 2. There's 2 on the Prisoner ultimate, and the Hellborn going to lose a couple of heroes right off the bat. Legion side realizing this is their chance to keep going. They get the Shell Surf go forward. Tempest walked into by Prisoner. It's not going to matter. He still dies. Prisoner a little bit too powerful. Not enough follow-up damage there. They will get one counter kill on the Cookies, but Robusk all of a sudden in a bit of trouble. Can get the money shot right on his face, and he will die despite the focus buffer use. Finally, Q's going to fall as Swiftblade comes in with the Swift Slashes and finishes off the Prisoner. Chain Reaction is going to completely whiff right there, as Pengu wants more, but he's going to eat a spin to the face right now, and he's going to need some support from his Legion teammates. Ophelia going to send him back. Will that be enough? Actually, the health pot is used, and I think Flint is going to survive right here. Trying to turn it around a little bit, actually, and all of a sudden Swiftblade could be in some trouble, but Rhapsody is here to back him up, so it's going to be Boz, the one that falls. As the Ophelia minions, both the nukes insufficient to get a kill. So Time to Die will be able to back on out of there as the Oph minions are going to be cleaned up and killed right here by the Rhapsody and Tempest. So in the end, another fight actually going the way of RmR. So their early game has proven to be superior to the Hellborns. And despite the fact that Labyrinth won that middle lane so hard, it was Q-Zane with fantastic initiation. And the follow-up was definitely there. Imba Pingu pushing the 500 gold per minute mark. So choosing to completely leave him alone ended up clearly being a pretty bad decision, as he was having enough trouble CSing before they decided let's just abandon that lane entirely. And it's the same principle I feel like I enunciated before, is, you know, Flint has issues sometimes in lane. Gauntlet Blast here onto Torture. Chipper Rockets are there as well. They will do some damage after the Lewis Blessing comes through, and Torture is probably going to fall here. Yes, he will, but the Shackle means that Gauntlet's also going to die. A 1-for-1 trade the Legion side will definitely take. And you keep making exchanges like that, you're not going to come out with an advantage, and right now it is RmR that are in the lead. Hook from Prisoner not going to connect onto Probusk, and the guys on Dawn still really want to push this tower. The problem is they're not doing too much, and they don't have ultis anymore, and Time to Die is wasting his time to die because he's still below 200 gold per minute, and they really need the Swiftblade to have some sort of an impact. I mean, Probusk has great farm, which is great. Gauntlet has good farm, which is good. But other than that, they really don't have too much in the way of GPM. Time to Die, Iceland Gogo, and Yugobik, none of them are really looking particularly great in terms of their overall farm. So I think they need to slow this down a little bit. If they want to run slow gank squads and stuff like that with the Gauntlet and Chipper, that's fine. Speaking of Gauntlet, his hook will miss. But Swiftblade cannot be wasting all this time in the middle lane. It's inefficient, and it's becoming a bit of a problem. By the way, Legion will counter ward right here, and they'll get both a Ward of Sight and a Ward of Rev from the Hellborn side, including the Ward of Rev that he just placed. Not bad. Yeah, this kind of is mid-wards, isn't it? And it's, at this point, I'd say it's benefiting the Legion team, because the Hellborn were really out-farming them, and now they're not. Flint, meanwhile, doesn't seem to have slowed down much, despite his early troubles, and all of a sudden he is approaching that 500 gold per minute mark, and you can slow down Flint early very quickly. Anyway, they will find the Invis Bubbles right here. Gets destroyed as the Word of Sight does also spot Flint. We'll see if they can actually kill him. Rhapsody Ultimate, not really going to be very helpful because it's too far in the background as Labyrinth ends up falling. A 1-for-1 trade right now. Prisoner wants even more if he can find it, but he can't really do so. Words of Rev and Sight all over the place. We'll see who's get countered where. As it looks like Rhapsody's kind of trying to delete the Legion's Word of Sight, or Word of Rev, and that will be sufficient. Pingu not going to get hit by the rockets. That actually probably would have killed him. No, it wouldn't have. But it would have been close. He's currently sitting on a Beast Heart, which means he's tankier than you'd think. Yeah, you see Yugobik even saying mid-worst. It pretty much is. I mean, the entirety of both teams have been focused around this middle lane now for the last 5+ minutes. And it's not really playing in the Hellborn's favor, as Labyrinth's farm continues to decrease, Probusk's farm continues to decrease, Time to Die has remained relatively stagnant. Actually, Gauntlet getting a hook back in right here. The Shackle is there. He will get the hook on Rhapsody. I think they're going to get him a little bit. The question is, will it sufficient? No, I don't think it will. Yeah, it's going to be the money shot. That gets the kill on Labyrinth, so the initiation from Q-Zane is still there, despite the fact that he really doesn't have any farm. He's finding the hooks and finding the ultimates and the Shackles that are setting up these kills, so things definitely looking good for the Legion side in that respect. The Thunderclaw on Flint doing a lot of work. He will also finish off an Elder Parasite right there. And that will help him get a tower kill, so he's up over 540 gold per minute. Quite easily the top farmer in the game, 200 GPM above anybody else, and actually nearly 300 GPM above anybody else. Once you go past Probusk, the second highest farmer is 280. So there just isn't very much gold, to be honest, in this game on either side. But what few heroes actually have good farm is definitely favoring the Legion team. Anyway, Prisoner Ultimate on top of the hook. Looks like Chipper going to be a lot of trouble. Sawblades will get the counter kill onto Prisoner, but it's still a decent trade for the Legion side, as Prisoner really not doing all that much in Probusk, the best farmer on the Hellborn team. So they also lose a tier 2 tower in the middle lane. All of a sudden, RmR are looking really good in this game. This Flint Beastwood doing a ton of work as they just fail to address him over and over and over again. I feel like you have a Gauntlet portal key, you have a Flint in the background, you can't take fights unless you're going to kill him. You have a way to get up in his face and lock him down, force him to run, make him do something. Instead, he's just allowed to be a turret in the background of these engagements, continuously pounding in auto attacks and flares and stuff like that. He's not in any real danger. He will clean up a crap ton of creeps in the bottom lane. And that's going to continue to increase his farm, which is already pretty scary. Bottom lane, Flint might actually be getting jumped right here, but no, the Veiled Rot gank is unsuccessful. Probusk has one, and he will go find himself in the side shop, look for Flint. But obviously he has retreated to the Legion Woods, which means no Flint to be found. And now Chipper's getting maybe a little bit too aggressive, because the Veiled Rot's going to be wearing off in a second. He does not have a portal key. He's actually going for the first item, Staff of Master. Which, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, he doesn't really have the GPM, I guess, to be going super early portal key. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe he doesn't feel like he can get it quickly enough. And he's not wrong. We're 18 minutes in, and even if you had it right now, it wouldn't be the earliest portal key by any means with that 300 GPM. Hellborn getting really aggressive here, trying to stop the Legion City team's farm, so they will kick them out of their own woods. But Pingu cleared most of those camps before they left anyway. And the Hellborn, once again, they really want to group up and fight here. But it's sort of creating some problems. I think it'd be alright if you had some picks beforehand, so you could be pretty sure the Legion team wouldn't put up any counter-aggression. But they're not doing that, and they're also, like I said before, it seems like they're continuously wasting Switchblade's time. He is starting to slightly increase his farm, but he's not keeping up anywhere near with this Flint Beastwood. And he needs to have something. I mean, Flint will out-carry him if this game goes forever. So, I don't know, we'll see, but he'll get some good aggressive farm here in the Legion Woods. Meanwhile, top lane, it could actually be the initiation they're looking for, as Probusk uses the Saw Blades to farm the creep wave. Legion side don't have any portal keys, and as a result, the passive play of Chipper will keep him alive. If he had gotten aggressive at all right there, he was going to die. And instead, he realizes a bunch of the Legion heroes are missing. They could be ganking me because they realize I'm actually doing stuff on this team, and I don't want to die, so let's just leave. Veiled Rod is active for Gauntlet. And Hook going to hit onto Rhapsody right there. She's not going to survive. Puts the staccatos onto Prisoner. Anyway, Gauntlet going to get pulled back in by the Prisoner ultimate. Pingu is finally being focused by him, but in fact it's going to be the turn as they lose Forgotten One of the neutral creeps. That's a nice play as well. The counter-aggression from the Legion team results in no kills for them eventually, and they lose 2 heroes. Meanwhile, all of a sudden we have a Kelp Field onto the Switchblade. No spin for 5 seconds, so he's going to die. No question. Hook does miss, but it doesn't matter. The Flare spots him, gives him the vision, and he really can't juke in the woods anymore. So it's going to be a 3rd kill in favor of RmR, and Imba Pingu becoming an unstoppable force right now. The Legion side will continue to push in this top lane. Tortured unalive, which means no impalement, but it doesn't really matter. Between the Flare and the Ophelia minions, they have plenty of damage to take out towers, as we saw them destroy that tier 2 in the middle, and they're doing a similar thing to this tier 2 in the top lane. That's going to leave just 1 outer tower available, and to be honest, the mid-game of this is looking a lot like Game 1, with the Legion side taking a somewhat insurmountable advantage after a bunch of really good ganks and teamfights and clearing up the map in their favor. Meanwhile, the Hellborn just can't get farm on anybody. And 315 GPM now leads them on Iceland Go-Go. Middle lane, they will catch out Gauntlet once again, and Labyrinth just having a really suffer time. Once that laning phase ended, he has not been having an enjoyable experience here. 210 gold per minute. And considering he was at 300 or so after the laning phase, that's just, it means he more or less hasn't gotten anything in the last 5 to 10 minutes. And I mean, you look at his item progression, he has a portal key and naked boots. That's pretty much it. So that's not an inaccurate assessment of how his item progression has gone. So play here, we'll pick up the Energizer on top of the Ghost Marchers. But I don't think he can go for, I'm not sure if he can go for a Straight Abyssal's Call actually here. He kind of has to because he needs the Abyssal, but it's really going to delay his more carry-oriented items, especially because he's just not farming all that well. So if this does go late, I think the Legion side will already have an advantage thanks to the fact that they're running a Flint over a Swiftblade, and then of course you have the issue with the fact that Flint has nearly 3 times the farm as the Swiftblade. Anyway, speaking of the Swiftblade, he's going to get caught out once again, and just nothing he can do right there. The lockdown is sufficient, and the damage is so substantial from the Legion team that he's got nothing. Portal Key's also on Bubbles, Portal Key's on Prisoner, as his recovery has been significant. He's now out farming that Gauntlet, which would have been unthinkable in the middle of the laning phase. And yeah, I agree with Twitch chat. You can't let free farm carry. We saw it. I mean, we literally saw the exact same thing happen last game with Probusk in the bottom lane on the Valkyrie. Cookies got destroyed. He died multiple times on that suicide bubbles, and he just was not presenting any sort of contest to Probusk on the Valkyrie whatsoever. And the exact same thing happened this game, where it was literally uncontested for since about, you know, the minute and a half mark or so. Time to Dive died in the bottom lane. He gave it the Bloodlust, and then he's just like, no, I'm done with this lane. I'm not going to go back down there. Despite the fact that he really could have done a lot, to be honest. I mean, Pingu was already having enough trouble CSing. Add a Swiftblade to that lane, and yeah, he would have still gotten decent farm, but at the very least he would have been slowed down a little bit. And, I mean, we have a hero approaching 600 GPM. As I mentioned before, that's the don't lose territory. That's the point at which it becomes pretty literally impossible to win a game. You know, your chances are something like 1 in 100.
Page from radar.
Oh, that's Ventrilo. Sorry, guys. So I'll mute that right there. Anyway. RmR obviously well in control of this game. You look at Flint's item progression, he has picked up Geometer's Bane on top of his Elder Parasite and Thunderclaw, so he's really going for that. I'm going to maximize my attack speed and headshot proc route, as the illusions will also get headshots. And he's going to attack like a motherfucker. Anyway, middle lane, Gauntlet going to get caught out here by the initiation from the Legion side, and will be once again a death on Labyrinth. Get the pull back in as well on Rhapsody. Kelpfield onto 4 heroes. Tempest Hole is going to be able to lock down 2, and that's a couple of kills for the Legion side. Forgotten One does still finish off the Rhapsody. Swift Slashes are there, but it's not going to be sufficient to kill Torture as he gets locked down by the Skeleton King. And all of a sudden, here comes Flint, popping the Geometer's Bane, getting a pretty good amount of damage in. The Focus Buffer will save some, but I'm not sure it's going to save enough. Auto charges are being taken by Time to Die. Actually, the Courier will be forced to shield right there. And in the end, not actually a bad engagement at all from the Hellborn team. It's 2 for 2, but it's a trade they'll take at this point because they are all of a sudden really significantly down in this game. And trading when you're down is usually a good option. They didn't also lose too much, trading Initiator for Initiator and support for Suicide, so look at the roles as well, and they probably came out ahead in that respect. So that's one fight out of many that they need to take if they want to come back in this game. And to be honest, I'm not sure how much longer I stick in this if I'm done, because I've already got a 2-0 series advantage. This is quickly snowballing out of control. RmR is gaining some momentum here. You don't want to stick in a game that you're not going to win for the next, 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 minutes if you don't have a reasonable chance, because you're just going to get more tired, you're going to get demoralized slightly possibly, and it's not going to bring you any advantage if you're this far down. It's just going to delay the amount of time it takes for the Legion team to win. So in that sense, it may not be valuable. On the other hand, you do have the consideration of the fact that RmR are coming from playing in the Losers Bracket Finals, which means they've already played a 3-game series coming into this. So the longer games, the more games you make them play, maybe the fatigue factor will still be in your favor. So I suppose there's 2 ways to look at it, but in the end, I still do feel like if you're not going to win a game, then CC it. I mean, if you believe you have a legitimate shot to win, then don't. I mean, it's not like, oh, we're probably going to lose, so we should CC. It's if you're just like, there's no way for us to come back, and we're not gaining anything out of staying in this. We're just making ourselves feel like crap. You should leave. And I'm not sure if Dawn is quite at that point, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were. If they, it's like one or two more team fights that didn't go poorly, or if the Legion side gets a free Congo or something like that, they may just be like, look, it's not worth it. Pingu got too much farm, and we won't let that happen again. And let's just move on to game 2, because that's going to be more valuable to us in the long run. So, mid-wars action to continue right here, as both teams are grouping up in the middle lane. Legion side looking to push it down a little bit. Veldrots continue to be activated by the Hellborn team, so they really like this item. And I can't blame them. It can be quite effective when used appropriately, but they really haven't gotten too much use out of it in the end. And we'll see if they can have any success with Gauntlet sitting on the invisibility. Shield Breaker is the next item for Flint. It seems like every single time I look at him, he's got a new big item. Because, again, 600 GPM. Ophelia has recovered quite well. She's picked up an Astrolabe as well as a Barrier Idol on top of the Ring of Sorcery and Plate of Greaves, so she is Aura. And having her around these team fights is going to be very, very valuable. Meanwhile, Kongor is going down here. I completely missed that until it was nearly dead. But presumably Flint will be picking up a token. My guess is he drops his Energizer and finds that. He's also level 11, which means that he's going to have access, or sorry, level 16, which means he's access to level 3 ultimate. And that's a pretty good amount of damage in a low cooldown. Chipper will get hooked back in. Oh, sorry about the camera angle right there. Counter hook from Gauntlet, but 3-man Kelfield is there. Probost's going to die before the Rhapsody ultimate can save him. Tempest going to lock down pretty much everybody. It's the God Hold right there. The question is, do they have enough damage? No, they don't. Chipper finally comes back in. They will finish off the Torture, but all of a sudden Swiftblade spinning. The money shot is there, and it finishes him off. So despite that fantastic play from Iceland Gogo, it's insufficient. They don't get enough. Prisoner Hook will not connect. And the damage follow-up just wasn't there from the Hellborn team. But Swift Slashes got ate a lot by the Ophelia creeps as well. In fact, there were so many heroes up, so a bunch of people getting low. But in the end, it's just a 1-for-1. Sorry, a 2-for-1 really, as Probosk died and bought back. And Swiftblade then died. But the Torture, the only one falling for the Legion side, and that's definitely something they'll take. They got a Tempest Toll out of it. They didn't lose their token. They only lost their support, and they got both of the cores on the Hellborn team. Their two biggest farmers. So at this point, Tempest largely impotent without his ultimate, and not great farm on either Chipper or Swiftblade, so things continuing, it feels like, to progress in favor of RmR. Now, Hellborn may be looking to reignite their previous really good push in the middle lane, which kept losing them fights and kept contributing to the hole that they're in right now. So they're gonna really slow push this tower. Anyway, Legion side will deny it now, so that one's been the forgotten one. And finally, Hellborn get the objective that they want. Portal Key is picked up on Probosk, so he will abandon his quest for the Staff of the Master, at least for now. Maybe just wanted the Glowstone for the additional health and mana. And he's going to have some good follow-up initiation as a result. Hopefully he won't be getting caught by prisoner hooks anymore, because at this point he really shouldn't be. There's no excuse for it. Well, Portal Key, no, there really isn't that much of an excuse for it. He's got the Ghost Marchers. He should be able to get out of the way. But it was still a very nice hook from Qzing. And here's where we have Flint's advantage. Actually, he does get hooked back in by Gauntlet, but the counter hook is there from the prisoner. That's going to be a pretty easy kill on Rhapsody right off the bat. We'll see if they can get anything else out of this as time dies in the middle of this fight. Trying to do some damage. Looks like the Torturer will fall. No, the newest Blessing helps finish him off. He eventually does die, but not before Swiftblade falls first. So Token of Life still there. Actually, they do get the hook on Tripper once again, so Probosk eating these hooks left and right. Gauntlet hook is there in the meantime onto Ophelia. They don't have enough damage, though. Money shot going through, and Probosk will fall. He gets Tartop off first, but it's not really enough to do a ton to Bubbles here. So they finish off the Tier 3 tower. No buybacks available on any of the dead heroes, and that's going to be a Midrax. And that might be more than just Midrax. That might be the game right there, because they should be able to take a second lane of Rax out of this. The Hellborn really don't have that many levels, so they're going to be respawning relatively quickly here, but if the Legion only get one set of Rax out of this, then it will be a disappointment, I would imagine. And it looks like that might be the case, actually. Oh wait, Flint's currently just under 2 minutes up on the token, so, well, to be honest, they can make another push out of this if they really want to, but they're going to have to do it quickly. So we're just past 30 minutes here, and we're looking at about a 19k gold, 20k experience lead here for the Hellborn, for the Legion side. Bubbles currently working on a Sheepstick on top of his current Portal Key and Pushbook combination. Obviously both of those generally very good items, and especially so on Bubbles. Similar situation is up on Prisoner, who has the PK, nothing else, no Portal Key, but he doesn't have too much farm. But Torturer will pick up the Pushbook for him, so 2 PK, 2 Pushbook between the two of those heroes. And then Flint probably looking for some more stuff. He only has 1,600 gold saved up, which is a little bit surprising. I guess he has something on the way, possibly? No, that's Prisoner. Prisoner does finish off his Pushbook, so that's 3 tablets of command for the Legion team. Similar builds on both Prisoner and Bubbles. And Ophelia continues to be Aura Meister, as she's actually picked up the Energizer, so I guess the Energizer was sold by Flint. And Flint can activate the Elder Parasite here, gets hooked back in by Gauntlet, and that will be an easy kill onto his token. Prisoner ultimate will catch 2 though, and the Geometer's Pain gets popped right there as down falls Labyrinth. Swiftblade trying to spin away and survive, but he does get hit by the money shot, and wow, that did a lot of damage to a 1,200 health Swiftblade. Rhapsody ultimate will save right now Iceland Gogo for the meantime, but not for long, as Yugobek also dies. At this point, it's a 4-for-0. Buyback comes through onto the Tempest. He does have a hole available as well as a Portal Key. The issue is, do they have the follow-up damage? If he gets even a good one off, he won't because of the spread on the Legion side. And then you look at the follow-up damage. There just isn't any. Chipper doesn't have an ultimate. He's got rockets, but that's going to be single-target damage. And there's no capacity for the Legion team to lose this fight as a result. Bubbles will eat a rocket right there, but it just doesn't matter. Another set of racks is going to fall. Hook does come through, and Iceland Go-Go is going to die yet again. And it's going to be Imba Pengu on a 9-0-11 streak. He's looking for another kill into Probus. Doesn't seem like he'll find it before Probus gets back in. Second buyback used by Iceland Go-Go, so that's where all his money went. Not a ton of cash available, but all of it saved for buybacks. Gauntlet Hook won't connect. He's going to get slowed and stunned. That's a real easy kill. There's a Tempest Hole. Really, really well placed. Finally canceled. Looks like they might actually finally get a kill on Hussein. In the meantime, Tempest dies for a third time. Now he's not coming back. Rhapsody coming back in immediately falls again. And we're seeing CC Boat gets called here. His time to die dies in the well. And it'll be game 2 going to RmR as Imba Pengu, unfortunately, unable to finish off either an Annihilation or an Immortal streak, but, you know, I still think we'll give him credit for a pretty damn good game, because I think he earned it, so. Ride my Rockets. You know, taking that journey one step at a time. They need to win 3 straight games, but you can't think of it like that. You gotta think of it as, we just need to win the next game. That's all we gotta do. And then you say that to yourself 3 times, and if it's effective, then you get the result that you're looking for, but that's step 1, and they need to do that a couple more times. They need to keep Dawn down a little bit, but they think they learned some stuff in that game. They addressed Probus repeatedly, they made sure the time to die didn't get too much, and Imba Pengu had free farm in that bottom lane, and when that happens, and when it happens to the degree that it did, you're going to win a lot of Han Tour games. So, congrats to RmR. They are getting a little bit closer to perhaps taking Gold Division for Cycle 6. Dawn's still well in control of the series, of course, with a 2-1 series advantage, but not nearly as dominant in that game as they were in Game 1, and so perhaps RmR getting a little bit of hope back from it, which is pretty critical at this juncture, I would say. That'll do it for Game 2, and we'll be right back, guys, with Game number 3.